Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and participants from around the world, welcome to our webinar powered by Progenics Laboratories as we commemorate this significant occasion of World Thalassemia Day. Today we come gathered together virtually to shine a spotlight on thalassemia, a condition that affects millions worldwide. As we honor this day dedicated to raising awareness about thalassemia and its impact on individuals and families, it's crucial that we unite to deepen our understanding, share knowledge, and foster hope for those living with this condition. Progenics Genomic Solutions stands at the forefront of this mission. We lead the way in genetic diagnostics and personalized medicine, utilizing cutting edge technologies to decode the human genome and pave the path towards improved healthcare. Our comprehensive services, ranging from genetic testings for hereditary diseases to cancer profiling, empower medical professionals with precise diagnosis, targeted treatments, and informed decision making. We at Progenics are dedicated to revolutionizing healthcare through genomic innovation, and it is with great pleasure. Now, I hand it over to Dr. Krishna, who will introduce our esteemed speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha. So I'm truly honored to introduce our speaker, a leading figure in the fight against thalassemia and sickle cell disease, Dr. Suman Jain. Dr. Jain is a highly accomplished medical professional and researcher with over 28 years of experience dedicated to understanding and combating hemoglobinopathies. Her extensive knowledge and passion have positioned her at the front for the critical field. Dr. Jain's contributions are truly remarkable. She has played a pivotal role in establishing prenatal facilities, providing crucial early detection and intervention for thalassemia and sickle cell anemia. Her dedication to implementing antenatal screening programs has significantly reduced the lifelong suffering associated with these conditions, impacting countless lives. Dr. Jain's commitment to healthcare extends beyond hemoglobinopathies. Her versatile skills encompass leprosy treatment and research, and she has authored over 40 publications sharing her knowledge and insights with the medical community. In recognition of her outstanding work, Dr. Jain serves as committee member of prestigious Global Alliance for Sickle Cell Disease organization, contributing to international efforts in tackling these diseases. Please join with me in warmly welcoming Dr. Suman Jain, a truly champion for patients and a driving force in the quest for better treatments and a brighter future for those affected by thalassemia and sickle cell disease. Over to you, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Are we audible? Anusha, please confirm.
Yes, you are audible, Krishna. Ma'am?
Yeah.
Hello,
Should I
ma'am.
share my presentation?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sharing.
Yeah. Today is World Thalassemia Day, and it is very, yeah. I'm very thankful to Progenics to give me a chance to speak on management and prevention on thalassemia. Next slide. This society was formed in 1998 under the guidance of Dr. N. Krishna Kumari with 20 children. She was a hemato-oncologist and she was also a founder president of our society. Her vision was to have all the facilities for thalassemia patients under one roof. Next slide. As you all know, in our blood, we are having RBC, WBC and platelet. But this is the disorder of RBC where there is a defect in the synthesis of hemoglobin, which is a protein that carries oxygen to all parts of the body. And it results in reduced rate of synthesis of one of the globin chains that make up the hemoglobin. As you see from this diagram, we have got two chains of alpha and two chains of beta. Where there is a defect, that part is called alpha thalassemia or beta thalassemia or delta thalassemia or combination of both. And you can see in the diagram the normal normal RBC and all the defective RBCs which is present in the blood of the thalassemia. Next. Should I start so that I can, okay, epidemiology. So it affects around 4 lakhs newborns born every year worldwide. And India considered to be the world capital of thalassemia. And 10,000 to 15,000 babies are born every year. An average carrier frequency of thalassemia in our country is 3 to 4% of our population. And some ethnic groups, it can be high prevalence, 4 to 17%. It is predicted in next 20 years about 9 lakh patients with thalassemia will be born in the worldwide. So the spectrum of thalassemia syndrome next slide. So maximum will be in the Asia, especially in India and Middle East. So the thalassemia syndrome, it's a non-transfusion dependent thalassemia is there, the upper part of the arrow. I am audible.
Yes, ma'am, please continue.
So non-transfusion dependent thalassemia where the transfusions are seldom required like alpha thalassemia trait or beta thalassemia minor. On occasional or intermittent transfusions will be present in mild HBE beta thalassemia syndrome and HBC beta thalassemia. And intermittent transfusion will be in deletion HBH which is alpha thalassemia and moderate HBE beta thalassemia. And regular lifelong transfusions are required in non-deletion HBH or beta thalassemia major or severe E beta thalassemia. These are the spectrum. So how we should diagnose these cases? The signs and symptoms of this thalassemia, they are very much normal at birth. And from 6 weeks to 2 years, the children start presenting, they become very pale, restless, they do not sleep well, have poor appetite, and often have big spleens and easily get tired, headache and weakness. These are the symptoms they start producing and they have been taken to the doctor. Next slide. So diagnosis of thalassemia, which we have to do complete blood picture where the HB will be low and the RBCs will have a different shape and sizes which is called anisocytosis or poikilocytosis, and then the doctor advised them to go for high pressure liquid chromatogram or electrophoresis where we estimate HbA2 and HbF. In this child, you can see the HbF percentage is 98.9%. It clinched to the diagnosis of thalassemia major, and where we have advised them to go to know the document or know the molecular defect by DNA analysis and confirm the diagnosis. So the management of thalassemia first foremost is the confirmation of diagnosis, and the management by regular blood transfusion and iron chelating drugs by removing excess iron, because each unit of blood transfusion gives 250 milligram of iron, and management of complications and correction of this defect by bone marrow transplantation, which is ultimate cure for thalassemia, and prevention of disease by antenatal diagnosis and genetic disorder. It is a preventable genetic blood disorder. So what is the transfusion therapy? The blood transfusion is the only mode of treatment, and involves repeated blood transfusion once in every 2 to 4 weeks, around 10 to 15 ml per kg of body weight. We have to give the blood transfusion, and we should maintain pre-transfusion hemoglobin between 9 to 10.5 gram%. And first transfusion, when we have to give when the hemoglobin level of patient falls less than 7 grams. And when there is a poor growth, facial changes or fractures or extramedullary hematopoiesis, that means the maxillary bones and the liver and spleen is enlarged. And in case of congestive cardiac failure, we should give at the rate of 5 to 8 ml per kg of body weight. And transfusion should be ABO and RHO compatible blood, and extended red cell phenotyping should also be done, because we sometimes get this minor group incompatibility like capital C, small c, capital E, small e, KEL, and helps to identify and characterize antibodies in case of later immunization. So because of blood transfusion, each unit of blood gives 250 milligram of iron. So only blood transfusion is not an answer. So it becomes a chronic disorder where we have to manage iron overload by giving iron chelating drugs. So non-transfusion dependent iron and transfusion dependent iron is because the blood transfusion, and here ineffective erythropoiesis, increased iron absorption is there in non-transfusion dependent thalassemias. A serious complication in thalassemia resulting due to multiple transfusion leads to deposition of iron in liver and spleen, heart, pancreas, pituitary glands, and kidneys. All those places, wherever the iron get deposited, those organs start getting failure. So treatment is very much involves iron chelating drugs. Next slide. So what is the objective of iron chelating drugs? When to start chelation therapy? When serum ferritin is more than 1000 nanogram per ml, or after first 15 to 20 transfusion, we can start iron chelating drugs. And goal is to maintain serum ferritin less than 1000 nanogram per ml. Either we have to maintain two things. Pre-transfusion hemoglobin should be between 9 to 10.5 and serum ferritin should be less than 1000. And these are the drugs which is one is the defriprone, which is an oral drug. Deferricirox, Asundra or Defrizet, both are the same thing. It's again an oral iron chelating drugs, and Desferal, it has to be given through a pump, which is shown in the diagram. Next slide. So the desferoxamine, the commercial name is Desferal, and defriprone is Kelfor, and Deferricirox is either Asundra or Defrizet. The half-life is 20 minutes, 2 to 3 hours, or 8 to 16 hours. So route of this medicine, Desferal, is through subcutaneous or IV infusion pump, and orally, both are orals. So dose is around 20 to 60 milligram per kg per day. We have to give this deferoxamine, and defriprone is 75 to 100, and Asundra 20 to 40. And how many days? 5 to 7 days per week. And defriprone, because short half-life, so we have to give 3 times daily, and Asundra once daily. Iron excretion is from urine and stool, and it is through urine, and it is through stool. And the side effect is vision, hearing, growth, local reaction, and allergy, main side effects. And defriprone, the gastrointestinal symptoms, and main complication, serious complications are granulocytosis, neutropenia, arthralgia. And Deferricirox is gastrointestinal symptoms, kidney dysfunction, and hepatitis. Next slide. So as you have known, the management is the multidisciplinary team. First, the child is come to the pediatrician. So pediatrician is the center thing, and then because the child is growing when you are managing, so you need gynecologist because they want to get married and have to have a children, psychologist, endocrinologist, transfusion medicine, gastroenterologist, and cardiologist, because if iron get deposited in these organs, so those specialized people are required to manage this child. Next. So curative therapy is bone marrow transplantation. In what cases it can be done? Where the HLA is matched, either the siblings or the parents, and it is a little expensive. So we can do the bone marrow transplantation either with sibling, the fully matched, or haplomatch. Bone marrow transplantation can be done, or unrelated fully matched bone marrow transplantation can also be done. The cost of the treatment of this bone marrow transplantation is very expensive. And another thing which is coming into the in research also, and where the some treatments are going on as in a, what to say, some in a research mode in many countries like USA, UK, gene therapy, which is very much modifies a person's genes. A gene, the blood sample has been taken out from the marrow, and then it has been subjected for correction and again reintroduced into the in the person through either through virus by vector. So this is very expensive. Like it is in Indian currency, it can go up to 20 crore. But in India also, these things are going on in IGIB. Hopefully, this treatment will come in future. So, what is there in our hand? The prevention. The inheritance, it is an autosomal recessive disorder where father and the mother both are carrier. The red part gene color depicting cartoon depicting a defective gene, and blue is the normal gene. So in every pregnancy, 25% chance the child will be normal, and 50% chance the child will be carrier, and 25% chance the child will be Thal major. So if we can prevent this disorder, if we stop the marriages between the carriers. Next. Is thalassemia preventable? Yes, it is preventable, but awareness is not there. So awareness is required, leads to the late diagnosis and increased mortality rate, and required lifelong blood transfusion and treatment, which causes imposing social, economic, and financial burden on the affected families, societies, and healthcare system. And cost of the ideal treatment of thalassemia child is around 1.2 lakhs to 1.25 lakhs to 2 lakhs per annum, which is beyond the reach of many people. And preventions can be achieved by creating awareness and through carrier screening programs and genetic counseling. Next slide. So there are so many screening programs like carrier screening programs, premarital screening. It is very much inappropriate, which it causes lot of anxiety in the females especially, and chances of limits the chances of marriage for females if they are carrier. And again, it is not and the population screening, it is not very cost effective, and the tools which is used, it can have a little negative predictive value. And again, the best suitable program is antenatal screening in pregnant women the first trimester, because everyone is healthy, wants a healthy child. So this antenatal screening can be a very good tool. And again, the cascade screening, like the extended family screening, where the child is born with thalassemia and their families like siblings and uncle, auntie, and cousins can be screened for thalassemia, and where there is a high chances of carriers. So in our society, we initiated a study to screen the antenatal women less than 20 weeks of pregnancy in 3 centers: Modern Maternity Hospital, Petla Bruj, and PSCs. Now all the PSCs of Mahbub Nagar is been included in this screening program of antenatal screening. And in Bangalore, in collaboration with Sankalp India Foundation, which we have stopped from this year. And in case of pregnant women found to be carriers for thalassemia, husbands were also screened. Once the pregnant woman found to be a carrier, the husband has to be screened. And in case of pregnant women where both the couples were found to be carriers, counseling was given and prenatal diagnosis was advised to prevent the birth of the affected children. As there is 25% risk in every pregnancy, the child could be thal major. And the result of Petla Bruj, what we found, we have screened around 6,000 patient, antenatal mothers, and we found 191 mothers found to be a carrier. And we could screen 178 husbands, and nearly 93%, and 7 found to be carriers, and 5 went for a prenatal. 5 couples went for a prenatal diagnosis, and no fetus found to be affected. But we found 3 patients, one with sickle beta thalassemia, one was sickle cell anemia, another one was E beta thalassemia, who are registered with our society, and we have started giving treatment to them. Next slide. So in Mahbub Nagar district, also we screened around 6,803 pregnant women, and we found around 203 mothers found to be a carrier, around 3%, as it comes into that 3 to 4% of our population are carriers. Our 98 husbands we could screen around 97.5%, and again in this 7 found to be a carrier. And for prenatal diagnosis, only 4 couples went for prenatal diagnosis, and no positive fetus was identified. Recently in Mahbub Nagar district, we found 1 positive fetus, but the mother was not ready to go for abortion. So quick review is thalassemia is a preventable inherited genetic blood disorder mainly characterized by anemia and requires lifelong blood transfusion and iron chelating drugs. Iron overload is the major complications. Chelating agents are used for removing excess iron due to transfusions, and management involves multidisciplinary team of doctors as they are becoming a chronic disorder. They are surviving for 40 years, 50 years, and also in foreign, also in Cyprus and all, one patient George, he is 72-year-old. So they are having a good quality life, and cure involves bone marrow transplantation or gene therapy, and it can be prevented through carrier screening and genetic counseling, and making this test mandatory as it is been done for so many diseases. If it can be done mandatory, then it nothing like it, and we can prevent this disorder. Thank you. If any questions, I am ready to answer.
Ma'am, we'll segregate the whole questions at the end of the session.
Okay.
Right, thank you. Anusha, please continue.
Thank you, ma'am, for this fantastic presentation during our World Thalassemia Day webinar. We are awed by your expertise and passion for the thalassemia management and prevention. Your presentation was truly inspiring and left a lasting impact on all of us. We appreciate your dedication to raising awareness and improving outcomes for those affected thalassemia. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jahnavi, a highly accomplished senior geneticist in our team at Progenics Labs. With a PhD in biochemistry and molecular genetics and extensive experience in both research and diagnostics, Jahnavi brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to our team. Her impressive career spans prestigious institutions like Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, National University Health System in Singapore, and Yala NUS College. She has made significant contributions to the field of genetic research, particularly in areas like Alzheimer's disease, metabolic disorders, thalassemia, and monogenic diabetes. Additionally, she has valuable experience in thalassemia research and management, having diligently contributed to the Pan India Thalassemia study sponsored by Pfizer during her time at Medgenome Labs. Jahnavi is not only an expert in next generation sequencing techniques and lipidomics, but also a skilled mentor and a collaborator. Her dedication to scientific advancement is evident through her numerous publications and research projects. We are fortunate to have Jahnavi as a part of Progenics Labs family. Her passion for genomics, combined with her operational expertise and diverse research background, including thalassemia, makes her an invaluable asset to our team. Welcome.
Thank you, Anusha. Good evening, all of you. I hope the slides are visible to you. Are the screen visible? Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay.
Ma'am. It is.
Okay.
Can you please begin the show, ma'am? Like you can elaborate the slideshow.
Yeah, sure. Is it fine now?
Yes, ma'am. You can proceed.
Yeah. Good evening, all of you. So far, Dr. Jain has explained the pathophysiology and the available latest genetic advancements. So I fill the gap between the pathophysiology and the latest genetic advancements. Let me talk about the role of NGS, how it powered up genetic diagnostics in the area of thalassemia. So Krishna, I think I can't move the slides. It's frozen.
Try again, ma'am.
Yeah, just 1 second.
Yeah.
It's frozen. I don't.
Say Anusha to present the screen.
Yeah, that's better, I think.
Okay, ma'am. Let me do.
Yeah. Is she doing that?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I'm not going into the in-depth details of thalassemia introduction, as Dr. Jain has already done that. So mainly the variants or mutations in the HbA1, A2 and HBB genes are causative to this thalassemia. So of this, alpha thalassemia is caused by HbA gene variants and beta thalassemia is caused by HBB gene variants. Very rarely, thalassemia can be caused by regulatory elements of the globin gene network. So mostly deletions in one of the HbA1 or HbA2 genes or single nucleotide variants of HBB gene are the major cause of this disease. Next slide, please. So why is it so important for the screening? So as Dr. Jain has stressed the points and enhanced, she showed the importance, she had already shed light on important aspects why the screening is needed. Because in our country and most of the parts in the world still following endogamy or consanguinity, which is increasing the prevalence of thalassemia. So as doctor said, beta thalassemia major patients require a lot of transfusions and subsequent side effects. So this is all due to lack of beta globin chains. So these affected people are exhibiting severe symptoms, and the risk of fatality among these beta thalassemia patients, major patients, is very high. So the screening is very, very important for the better society. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so let us look at the different type of tests available. So mainly single nucleotide variants and then deletions and duplications are causative of this disease in among these three genes like HBA cluster or HBB. So we have some tests available which are HBB gene single nucleotide variant analysis. For example, the clinician has identified a clear phenotype. She's suspecting the clear phenotype to rule out genetically, so they can directly go for HBB gene single nucleotide variant analysis, or they can go for a comprehensive analysis which covers both single nucleotide variants and the deletion duplication analysis. And also to rule out the HBA alpha thalassemia. So we have some tests for the single nucleotide variant analysis of HBA gene. And there is a separate deletion duplication analysis test for both HBA and HBB, and a comprehensive analysis test for HBA and HBA2 also. Along with this, another test, which is a combo, which could screen both HBA and HBB genes. So this particular test will rule out the single nucleotide variants, deletions, and duplications in all these three genes. And here, some of the duplications are not correctly, exactly cannot be detected on these assays. So very rarely we go for MLPA for the duplications. But other than this, these tests are sensitive and they're very good for ruling out SNVs and deletions. Next slide, please. So we have target-specific library preparations for NGS analysis to identify these indels or single nucleotide variants or CNVs. And we sequence these. Is a totally NGS-based method. And regions positioned upstream and downstream of these regions are also targeted and used for detection of large deletions and duplications. Literally, globin cluster can be covered in this assay. Partial sequencing of HBG1, HBG2, and HBD promoters is also covered in this assay. Dr. Jain might have experienced different kinds of HBA traits in her experience. So this test, you need not suspect whether these traits can be detected or not. But yes, HBG1, G2, and HBD promoters are also covered. Next slide, please. So if we look at the globin gene clusters, so HBA is on chromosome 16 and HBB is on chromosome 11. So when we look at the HBA cluster, we know there are two isoforms, HBA1 and A2. A total of 4 copies are there. And in that cluster, here I have shown the genes involved in this cluster. So the blue regions can be completely sequenced, and other genes, the hotspots, can be sequenced in this assay. And the beta globin gene cluster also as well, the HBB is completely sequenced from the upstream to downstream. And HBG2, HBG1, and HBD, all these promoter regions and hotspots are covered in this assay. So we can cover most of the thalassemia types, and we can detect the genetic basis based on this assay. Next slide, please. So the sample requirement for this test is we just need 5 ml of peripheral blood collected in EDTA containers, or if you'd like to send DNA, it would be 2 nanograms per microliter. That is about 10 nanograms. So, and as we all know, to establish the proper genotype-phenotype correlation, it would be advised that kindly send the HPLC reports, which are showing the fractions of fetal hemoglobin, HbA1 and A2 fractions. And also kindly let us know the frequency of transfusions and the other relevant clinical criteria such as complete blood count and status of splenomegaly. So doctor has already explained in her slides why splenomegaly. Oh, next slide, please, Anu. Okay, I would like to show some of our reports. So this particular case is referred to as the baby is born of non-consanguineous marriage and presented with anemia. So a clinician approached for thalassemia screening, but this child is not having any HB or HBB variants. It could be different form of anemia, which we have considered for further screening. So generally our positive report will look like this. And if we look at this report, this baby is also born of a consanguineous marriage and presented with fever and requiring blood transfusions. So this particular sample has been screened for HBA and HBB genes. So in this, this baby is a carrier for a pathogenic mutation in the HBB gene. Next slide, please. This particular case is very much interesting. It's a consanguineous couple and the second born kid, and he has a family history, and splenomegaly status is clear and is positive, already positive for sickle cell anemia and the blood smear, but the clinician has suspected HBS variant or trait of thalassemia also. So upon genetic screening for this thalassemia panel, the child is found to have sickle beta thalassemia having two different variations and with the autosomal recessive inheritance in the HBB gene, which is a pathogenic variance. So this is the case of sickle beta thalassemia. So this shows the importance of genetic testing so that the treatment management can be planned. Next slide, please. So in this assay, if we go for a regular one, only HBB gene is covered. If the first one is for the regular NGS screening, only it covers the HBB single nucleotide variants, but from promoter from upstream to downstream. And 619 base pair deletion, which is the most common deletion in thalassemia patients, is also covered in this assay. But however, deletions and duplications cannot be ruled out. But this particular customized panels, which contains HbA1, HbA2, and HBB genes and is covered 100% covered, and deletion duplications can be identified. Additionally, large structural deletions also can be identified in these assays. Next slide, please. So let us look at the HPLC levels showing different thalassemia types. So generally, when it comes to genetic screening, so let us look at the HPLC levels, how they are showing. If it is a beta thalassemia major, hemoglobin will be less than 7 grams per deciliter. And HbF, that is fetal hemoglobin fraction, will be 30 to greater than 95% with normal or mildly elevated HbA2 fraction. So what are these peaks? We will see in the next slides. And if the patient is suffering from beta thalassemia, previous slide, please. So if it is beta thalassemia minor, hemoglobin will be less than 9 and 12 it will be between less than 9 or 12 grams per deciliter. And fetal hemoglobin will be normal to low with elevated HbA2. So it will be clear. So to identify the beta thalassemia minor patient. If it is intermediate, again hemoglobin will be 7 to 9 grams per deciliter. HbF will be markedly elevated and with normal to mildly elevated HbA2. So based on this HPLC, clinician will come to know whether it is a minor, intermediate, or major. Next slide, please. So these are the indications like possible genotypes for this thalassemia. So how we indicate this, if it is an intermediate, beta plus or beta 0, why we indicate like this? So this is based on the presence of hemoglobin chain or not. Here both chains are there, but here one is beta 0. So like this. So these chains will indicate whether the kid is major, minor, or normal. Okay. So next slide, please. So here I'm just quoting some of the examples of HPLCs. Generally, most of the clinicians still believe HPLC is a gold standard for the thalassemia. But there are cases where HPLC was wrong at the facility, maybe because of the name swiping or improper machine optimization. But still, we just go ahead with the peaks. So it will be like a knowledge source for all of us so that we can identify the types of hemoglobins. It's a normal hemoglobin, which is showing A1C peak, A1 and A2 peaks. And we can't see much of fetal hemoglobin because in the adults, we don't see much of the fetal hemoglobins. Next slide, please. So it is these HPLC graphs are clearly showing thalassemia major and minor. So in the thalassemia minor, we could clearly see fetal hemoglobin fraction. And in the thalassemia major, the fetal hemoglobin fraction is seriously high. And A1 peak is less in major, and A1 peak is peaked in the thalassemia minor. So these HPLC graphs will help us to perfectly correlate the genetic data with the clinical criteria so that it will be a complete diagnosis for the patient. Next slide, please. This is showing thalassemia trait having a slight fetal hemoglobin and A2% 4.9 and still you can see the A1 peak and A2 is also slightly elevated. So these are thalassemia traits. Generally, they appear mild and can be missed also. Next slide, please. And sickle cell hemoglobinopathy. This is an example for that. So there are different types. HbF fraction is also there, but here it's less. So it's a combined phenotype. HbS and HbC traits are present. Here, this is a sickle cell trait. Next slide, please. It's one of the rare trait, HB lepore. So it has different, the quality of HPLC is not that great, but still we can see the peaks, lepore peaks. Next slide, please. And I'm just showing the increased fetal hemoglobin fraction in one of the thalassemia major patient. Next slide, please. It is a hemoglobin E disease. This is also one of the rare variant. It's a clear, strong signal of HBE. Next slide, please. HBQ India trait, this one. So which is showing the S window and the post HBQ peaks. Is the HBQ peak. And then let us look at various alpha hemoglobin gene deletions. Why I'm showing these things? So some of the clinicians will still have a doubt whether one single assay can detect all these things. Yes, it can. Nowadays, customized tailored panels are there. So these things will identify these different kinds of C or Filipino variety or Thai alpha gene deletion or MED1 or 21.9. So all these deletions can be identified in one single assay. So these are the prevailing variants. Some are rare and some are common variants like C and Filipino variant. Next slide, please. And some of the beta globin gene variants. So these gene deletions also can be identified in one single assay. This is because of the coverage of the adapters we have employed. So you can see all even CHPH, HPFH. This also can be identified. Hollandia variant or Baltimore variants, deletions can be identified. So 619, which is very common in thalassemia, that's also can be clearly identified. Next slide, please. Sorry, and Dr. Jain, sometime back as I was talking about delta thalassemia. Previous slide, please. This assay will identify this delta beta Sicilia variation also, the deletion. So this also clearly showing that the coverage is very high in this assay. Next, please. And some of the very rare variants which I come across in my experience and also can be covered in this assay. HBE, HBD, Punjab, Koedora variant also I have seen. HBH, Delta Beta Thalassemia, or this Boston, Washington, or Baltimore variants, Salanchus variant, and HBQ. And even another important point we need to keep in mind when it comes to HPFH. So sometimes there are some benign variants, but we need to carefully correlate along with the HPLC and the clinical criteria. Otherwise, these variants will be missed and will be wrongly managed. So we have come across this kind of variants also because the patient sometimes shows the fetal hemoglobin. Maybe it will be treated as in a different way. But when it comes to this, it could be something else, like maybe a combination of the variants, combination of deletions from HBA and HBB. And we need to keep in mind that some of the HBA deletions are protective. So when it comes to decision making in case of pregnancies, so sometimes HBA variant gives protection so that even though, for example, if X variant is there in a patient, so this particular patient may require frequent transfusions. So this particular mother, if get pregnant, if fortunately, if the husband is not having this particular pathogenic variant in HBB, but he may be having a HBA deletion. If the child inherit this pathogenic HBB variant, along with the father's HBA deletion, this child will face a less frequent blood transfusions, sometimes very, very rare blood transfusions. So in this case, we have to understand that HBA has some protective factor also. So we have to be very careful in counseling and in giving the informed, we have to help the patient while taking informed consent. So that's why HPLC images and the complete clinical criteria such as CBC or history of blood transfusions, all these things will make a lot in case of making decisions on treatment management or in continuing the pregnancies. Next slide, please. Yeah. So here I'm just giving a beta globin gene cluster, which I'm once again saying that this assay will cover everything. So maybe from codon 30 of exon 1 to the 5th base of 5ES1. So nothing will be missed. All the indels, large deletions are the single nucleotide variants. So the screening time will be less. For example, if you go ahead with a combo analysis, so you need not waste time, like first screening HBB variants, and again, if it is negative, taking another 2 to 3 weeks time for the deletion duplication, and again, screening the father late. So no need. We can just go ahead with a combined analysis where you can identify everything. Thank you all.
Ma'am, thank you for your exceptional presentation, ma'am.
Thank you.
Especially in a genetics perspective on thalassemia, your throughout explanation illuminated the complexities of the topic, and your case studies especially provided invaluable insights, and your expertise and passion for the subject were truly evident, and I'm incredibly grateful for the knowledge you shared. Thank you so much, ma'am, for dedication to advancing and understanding our thalassemia, and for for outstanding contribution to this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. And then let me introduce Ratnavali Kottapalli Garu, a champion for thalassemia awareness. Ratnavali Garu is a passionate advocate and tireless worker dedicated to raising awareness and support for thalassemia. Her journey began over 20 years ago, where her son was diagnosed with the disease. Faced with limited information and resources, Ratnavali took it upon herself to learn everything she could about thalassemia and shared that knowledge with others. In 1998, she co-founded the Thalassaemia and Sickle Cell Society in Hyderabad, India, which has become a heaven for families affected by thalassemia. The TSCS provides critical care, support, and education, helping countless individuals navigate the challenges of living with this condition. Ratnavali's dedication extends far beyond TSCS. She has tirelessly campaigned for greater awareness, speaking at schools, colleges, and corporate offices. Her efforts even led to inclusion of a lesson in thalassemia in the local school curriculum. Through blood donation drives, fundraising events, and educational programs, Ratnavali Garu has touched the lives of millions. Her unwavering commitment and inspiring leadership had made her beacon of hope of thalassemia community. Her story is one of the turning potential personal tragedy into a powerful force for good, making a real difference in lives of countless individuals. Ma'am, welcome and thank you for accepting our invitation. So I hope over to you, ma'am. Get your presentation.
Thank you, Krishna Garu, for giving me this wonderful opportunity on this auspicious day of World Thalassemia Day. First of all, I would greet everybody for this wonderful day, World Thalassemia Day. This day is meant to spread awareness because people hardly know about thalassemia. So this day is specially meant to spread an awareness, conduct awareness talks, and moral boost the patients' morals and all across the world. So today here already Dr. Jain and we have one more doctor who has already told about what is thalassemia, how it prevails, what is its everything is being told, like it's like a shell. It is being told. Today I'm going to talk like my journey with thalassemia, how it started. As it rightly said, it is not 20 years. My journey with thalassemia is 36 years. So the next slide, please. I was blessed with two children, Rohit and Monit, and Rohit was born in 1998. In those days, thalassemia was like an alien subject to many of them. So even doctors were not knowing about thalassemia. So that is where Rohit was diagnosed with thalassemia major in those days. And it was very hard for a parent to understand what is thalassemia and then lead a normal life with thalassemia. So like, and in 90s, early 90s, there were no awareness on blood donations and blood transfusions too. So people, whenever I used to speak to people that my son needs a blood transfusion, then people used to look at me in a suspicious way. Why a blood transfusion? Is it AIDS? So the people used to get confused with AIDS and then thalassemia. And getting a 1 unit blood for me, it used to take literally 15 days. I used to go knock every door for 15 days, and then I used to get 1 single unit of blood which my child needs. Then I decided that I have to bring a change in the children affected in my life, and also the affected children, and also into the society. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So in my journey in 90s, early 90s, when I was suffering, like, with the lack of blood to cater, blood to my child. So in those days, I met Dr. A.N. Krishna Kumari in early 90s. So after meeting her, I really got solaced. And then with her guidance and cooperation, then I could able to gather 20 parents with her. And then in 1998, with doctors, some philanthropists, and then a few of the parents, we have started 1998 with 20 children. We started this organization called Thalassaemia and Sickle Cell Society. Next slide, please. Ne- Since then, my association with TSCS, I concentrated more on uh, creating awareness about this disorder and also blood donations. So 250, like I know I have done more than 250 awareness programs in schools, colleges, and then in corporate offices. Just to see that my child is, to make him free, like, he gets bled in time. So many of the schools rejected Rohit because he was a thalassemia major. So then I decided I have to create some sort of awareness in the society so that the other children doesn't face uh, uh, that problem. So I started campaigning about this disease in schools, colleges, public places, corporate offices, and also, raising funds for my children for, uh, to do these day-to-day activities for blood donation camps and all. So hardly, like, it was like very tough for a parent like us to get blood and all, because in those days hardly few blood banks used to cater blood, and there was no saline wash in those days also. So it was very tough for us to encourage the blood banks, then the medical fraternity, and go around the country and come back. And then it was a very tough for a parent to handle a child, and then the surrounding society, and then the treatment part also. So it was very tough for us. So in 1998, we started an organization to see that, our children get blood at the same place, under one roof, under the great leadership of Dr. A.N. Krishna Kumari. So we, like, few parents and Dr. Jain and all, we all started our journey uh, with the TSCS. I can say we have completed this year 25 years. First, we started our journey with only blood transfusions, then multi-organ screening camps, then followed by our own blood bank, then followed by our research lab. And today we have an complete comprehensive care center where the child, does not need to go outside. They get all facilities in our society. So that is the 25-year service, along with the few parents and myself and Dr. Jain and few other board members. We could able to cater our children. Today, if you see that, every month we cater around 3,000 units of blood to our children. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. If you can see, this is the pedigree of my own family. So when Rohit was born, and we were told that it is an genetical disorder, then I decided that to test all the family members in the family, and to get them tested HbA2 level, and see that there's no other thalassemia child born in my family. So if you can see, this is a 5-generation pedigree which I prepared, and nearly 150 people of my own family got tested for HbA2 testing, and then out of them, 19 are carriers. So this is what I see, that I can say that in this way we can see that there's no other thalassemia child born in our family. This is what we this is the same pattern we apply to all the other patients, parents, while counseling, and we see that the clusters are being tested for HbA2 in our center. Next slide, please. So here I wanted to tell you what all the society has achieved and all. Uh, Yeah, here, apart from the awareness part and all, the society takes immense care for the prevention and also the counseling part. Here we have a counselor, all-time, real-time counselor we have in the society. And apart from the doctors, sisters, and uh, uh, the counselor, every child is being every parent and the child are being uh, screened and also been counseled every time, every episode of transfusion. They come here to see that there's no other child born in that particular family. So we have done a T2 star MRI, literally 620 T2 star MRIs are being done free of cost. And till date, we since we have started our blood bank in 2010 till now, we have conducted nearly 3,076 blood donation camps. This year, if you can see, the registrations last year is 422 new registrations has been taken. Now the count is around 3,900 children registered with us. So we have done the 314 PNDs already. Dr. Jain has given you this report. So the HbA2 test done till now is uh, 17,213 till now. We have done these HbA2 testing in Peetlabursu Government Maternity Hospital, Peetlabursu, and 27 PHCs of Mehboob Nagar, and other few PHCs in Bangalore. And after we started our blood bank in 2010, the number of transfusions were given was 238,119 transfusions were given. And till date, nearly 134, right now 139 BMTs are being done, and 353 PNDs are being done till now. And MRIs, I told you 620, but it has crossed 700. And now new registrations of this year is 120. And we have 3931 registrations in our organization. And once again, blood transfusions, 2,44,237 blood transfusions are being done. And this is simple data I can give you. And we have done awareness campaigning in major MNCs, the major schools and colleges. Here I can say the achievements. The next slide, please. Where here I can say the major achievements of our societies. I can see that we have done a Mission 10 Million program where we could able to, aware 10 million people across Hyderabad, training 30 students. And also we have strived very hard to get thalassemia included in Arogyashri, and since 2014, our society has been empaneled in Arogyashri. With our hard work, with the TSCS hard work, the thalassemia has been included in Arogyashri. And I can also say it took me around 8 months to sit with the Department of Education and then include thalassemia as a subject in SSC 10th class biology textbook in both the states, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana in 2014. And since then, it's a part of the curriculum. So this is one of its kinds in entire world. There is no, the thalassemia is a part of the curriculum. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, when then we get a number of awards and rewards, which will boost our, which encourage us to do more things. The best part is like when I got a call from Rashtrapati Bhavan to meet Ramnath Kovindji, and then myself and Dr. Jain, we both went there. And then it was like high honored for both of us when we heard the praise from Ramnath Kovindji about TSCS. Because of our mission, Thalassaemia Free Telangana. So that is our mission of TSCS to eradicate thalassemia from Telangana, and also Thalassaemia Mukt Bharat. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, this is all the pictures were taken, which were given. I was given some awards and all. So this is all a very small thing before our mission, Thalassaemia Free Telangana. Once we achieve that Thalassaemia Free Telangana or Thalassaemia Mukt Bharat, like that is a great rewards and awards we get. So please everybody please join hands with us to achieve Thalassaemia Free Telangana and Thalassaemia Mukt Bharat. Thank you. Next slide.
Actually, there is an internet glitch. That's why it has been taking a couple of seconds to load the slide. I'm sorry very much.
Yeah, it's okay. So the conclusion part is please join hands with us for Thalassaemia Free Telangana and Thalassaemia Mukt Bharat, and also be a part of TSCS in eradication of thalassemia and also blood donation camps, so that my children get blood in time and they'll be like normal child. Thank you.
Ma'am, it's incredibly moving. Your courage in sharing your personal journey touched us deeply. Really, soon after we come to know that the thing what has been happened, I found myself profoundly moving by your dedication to turning your sorrow into something positive for others. It's not such a big deal because, uh, you know, uh, 1 in 1,000,000 can do that actually. The story of your son and your subsequent journey to establish the Thalassemia Society is it's nothing short of inspirational, ma'am. And your presentation was.
Actually,
Yes, ma'am, please.
yeah. Sorry to disturb you. Actually, we both are like, we feel like myself and Rohit, we both feel we are the soldiers of TSCS. So soldiers will not have any emotions, personal emotions. So our mission, our goal is Thalassemia Free Telangana and Thalassemia Mukt Bharat. And the main aim of TSCS is care and control. So here I wanted to express my views in Telugu so that I can express more like, feelings more I can. So ఉన్న పిల్లల్ని కాపాడుకుంటూ అసలు ఇలాంటి పిల్లలు కాకుండా చేయడం అన్నదే మా మెయిన్ మోటివ్ అన్నమాట. యాజ్ ఐ రైట్లీ సెడ్, నాది రోహిత్ది మా ఇద్దరిది మేమిద్దరం సోల్జర్స్ కాబట్టి మాకు పర్సనల్ గా మాకు అదేముండదు. అండ్ ఐఎమ్ అ మదర్ ఆఫ్ 3,900 చిల్డ్రన్ కాబట్టి అందరిలోనూ రోహిత్ ఉన్నాడు. సో రోహిత్ ఈస్ దేర్ ఎవ్రీవేర్. సో నాకు ఆ లోటు లేకుండా టిఎస్సిఎస్ చూసుకుంటోంది. అండ్ ఎస్, మా ఇద్దరిది చెప్పాను కదా, మా ఇద్దరి మోటివ్ ఒకటే. అండ్ వాడు ఉన్నప్పుడు వాడు లేనప్పుడు కూడా ఇది ఒకటేలా ఉంది కాబట్టి సో వాడి జీవితానికి ఒక అర్థం కావాలి అంటే నేను ఈ థాలసేమియా ఫ్రీ తెలంగాణ అన్నది సాధించాలి. అప్పుడే వాడి జీవితం, వాడి సాక్రిఫైస్ కి ఒక మీనింగ్ ఉంటుంది అండ్ నా లైఫ్ కి ఒక మీనింగ్ ఉంటుంది. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ఓన్లీ ఇదొక్కటే నేను చెప్పదలుచుకున్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Incredible, ma'am. Getting goosebumps after listening this. So, adbhutam aslu ilanti. Some passionate people can do this, and it was very fortunate to have you here. Thank you for sharing your story, and your passion and commitment motivated us all to do more, to be a better advocates for the affected with thalassemia. Tappakunda మేము కూడా ఈ thalassemia-కి ఎంతో కొంత to make people aware, వాళ్ళు నేర్చుకునే విధంగా, వాళ్ళకి అర్థమయ్యే విధంగా definitely move in. Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay,
Thank
then
thank you so much.
yeah, we'll move into
I
Q&A.
appreciate you, ma'am, and you are an example that a mother can do anything and can go to any extent for the kids. I appreciate, ma'am.
Thank you, Jahnavi garu. And this is all because I have a team who supports us by all means. Like, they hold us, literally the TSCS team we have, they hold all the emotions part, everything they look after, so that is the reason we could able to do this much and all. This
Great, ma'am.
credit goes to team TSCS.
Yeah. Nice meeting you, ma'am, on this platform, really. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can we go with the Q&A session for a couple of
Yeah,
minutes?
please.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. So please raise the hands, one and all. So we are just turning out the mute. I think we have a question for Dr. Jain. Dr. Jain, there are novel therapeutic approaches or clinical trials underway that holds promise for improving outcomes or reducing treatment-related complications in thalassemia patients?
Yeah, there are few drugs which has been under process, and one drug has come into the market which is called luspatercept. It basically make the ineffective erythropoiesis, some RBCs will be in a maturation stage, immature stage, they will make it mature with this drug. So the transfusion will be delayed, but there is no drug as such there to make cure for thalassemia. They can delay the transfusion, but not the cure, so that the iron overload will be less. So luspatercept, all those drugs are there. Basically, the luspatercept has a good result, but very, very expensive.
Right. And we have got question for Ratnavali ma'am. Ratnavali ma'am, looking ahead, what do you envision as the biggest challenges and opportunities in thalassemia research, prevention and treatment in the upcoming years? Challenge face?
Yeah. ఛాలెంజెస్ ఆర్ ఎప్పుడు ఒకటే ఉంటుందండి. బ్లడ్ దొరకడం అన్నది మెయిన్ ఛాలెంజ్ గా ఉంటుంది. అండ్ మాకు యాజ్ అ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ టిఎస్సిఎస్ టీమ్ చెప్పాలి అంటే ప్రజలు అంటే ఇఫ్ వి వెన్ వి కౌన్సిల్, ఎస్టర్డే ఆల్సో ఐ వాజ్ కౌన్సిలింగ్ 2-3 పేరెంట్స్. సో దే కమ్ ఫ్రమ్ సచ్ అ లో బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్, వాళ్ళకి అసలు అర్థమే కాదు, దే డోంట్ అండర్స్టాండ్. సో వాళ్ళని కౌన్సిలింగ్ చేయడం ఈజ్ అ బిగ్ ఛాలెంజ్ ఫర్ దెమ్. అండ్ వీ గివ్ ఫ్రీ మెడిసిన్స్, వాళ్ళకి అన్ని ఇచ్చినా కూడా దే డోంట్, అంటే వాళ్ళ పిల్లలకి వెయ్యరనమాట. సేయింగ్ దట్ మై సన్ వామిటింగ్స్ వస్తున్నాయనో లేకపోతే కడుపు నొప్పి వస్తుందో, దే హ్యావ్ ఆల్ సిల్లీ రీజన్స్ ఫర్ నాట్ గివింగ్ మెడిసిన్స్. దిస్ ఇస్ అ బిగ్ ఛాలెంజ్. నాకు నిన్న చాలా అనిపించింది. ఎందుకంటే మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద పేరెంట్స్ దే డోంట్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద సివియారిటీ ఆఫ్ థాలసేమియా అండ్ ద మెడిసిన్స్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ఒక సైడ్ చూస్తుంటే చిల్డ్రన్ ఆర్ గెటింగ్ బోన్ మ్యారో ట్రాన్స్ప్లాంటేషన్, హ్యాప్లో ట్రాన్స్ప్లాంటేషన్స్ అవుతున్నాయి, మడ్ ట్రాన్స్ప్లాంటేషన్స్ అవుతున్నాయి, అండ్ చిల్డ్రన్ ఆర్ కమింగ్ అప్ విత్ కలర్స్. వాళ్ళంతా కూడా దే కమింగ్ అవుట్ విత్ గుడ్ రిజల్ట్స్. ఒక సైడ్ చూస్తుంటే జీనోమ్ వస్తుందని అన్న ఆశ ఉంది. పిల్లలందరూ దే విల్ బి క్యూర్ ఫ్రమ్ థాలసేమియా అని ఉంటుంది. సో బాటమ్ లైన్ లో గనక చూస్తే, గ్రౌండ్ లెవెల్ కనుక వెళ్ళి చూస్తే, కొంతమంది పేరెంట్స్ కి అసలు అర్థమే కావటం లేదు. దే డోంట్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద రియల్ సివియారిటీ ఆఫ్ థాలసేమియా, అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ ఆఫ్ మెడిసిన్స్ వాల్యూ అంటే ఏంటో. సో ఇది అర్థం కావట్లేదు. సో ఇట్స్ అ మిక్స్డ్ ఫీలింగ్. ఒక సైడ్ ఏమో వీ హ్యావ్ సక్సీడెడ్ సో మచ్ అనిపిస్తుంది, ద డేటా ఇస్ సో మచ్ అనిపిస్తుంది. అండ్ రియల్ గా కొంతమందిని కౌన్సిలింగ్ చేస్తుంటే మళ్ళీ అక్కడే ఉన్నాం. లాస్ట్ 36 years బ్యాక్ ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాను అక్కడే ఉన్నాం అనిపిస్తుంది సర్టన్ పేరెంట్స్ ని కౌన్సిలింగ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు. అప్పుడు ఈవెన్ లెర్న్డ్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ లైక్ దట్. అది కొంచెం బాధాకరంగా అనిపిస్తుంది.
Yes, ma'am. Got it. And then we have a question for Jahnavi, ma'am, from Shobha. She's asking that what happens if thalassemia alpha trait comes with beta trait? What are the offspring changes?
Like this is okay. Genetics inheritance and all, we have to follow the usual inheritance. But for example, if an offspring inherit beta thalassemia trait and alpha thalassemia trait, it will definitely protect. There is a modifier, but trait itself is mild. Dr. Jain, can you please comment on this? I feel, to me, in my experience, the child may not require transfusions much because the HB.
We have found alpha and beta thalassemia case. What you are talking about, they may behave like a thal intermedia, but some children may in later age they may require transfusions.
Yeah, later age, but in the young age, in my experience, I have seen much adults, but the kids, the children are not facing any transfusions frequently. Yeah. That's the answer, Miss Shobha.
Again, depend on thalassemia trait, whether it's a 3 genes or 2 genes, depends on that. It could be severity may be there.
Got it, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a personal question for Dr. Jain.
Yes.
Yeah. What are the current recommendations for genetic counseling and carrier screening for individuals at the risk of thalassemia, and how effective these strategies in preventing the birth of affected children?
Yes. So what we have understood, previously we were going for school children screening and all. So that is not very futile, I can say, because what happened, the children, you have to take the permission of the parents. The counseling will not be such like that. It is not mandatory ki you have to do this test, like not like a newborn screening where you can do this test which is let down by the government. So first, the thing is that we extended family screening, which is called cascade screening. That is very important because one of the child in their family is affected. So people will understand and the extended family screening can be done. And second is the antenatal screening. There are many countries like Taiwan and all. There the national hemoglobinopathy screening program is prevalent there, and it is ongoing for last 20-25 years. That's thing is going on, and they have reduced the hemoglobinopathies incidence from 25% to 0.001%. So it is doable. So we can do antenatal screening And once the government find out and laid down the rule, national hemoglobinopathy screening program and mandatory in the antenatal, which can be done, and it is quite like we are able to do it in our with the experience of our last 3 years. We are doing the screening program of antenatal screening program in Petla Bruj, and also 25 this ESCs of Mahbubnagar, and we have controlled and we are able to do the screening program, and it is quite easily done. If the government laid down the program, they have got PHCs throughout the India, so it is very much possible we can do it. In Telangana, we can do it because people are there from all throughout the districts. We are getting children, so I feel it can be done. It is doable.
Right. Now, why can't, yes, I got to the point, ma'am, but why can't government made it like mandatory test? Like,
that is a good question, but I am not able to answer that. It is it's a debate and all, and I think if everybody comes forward and pressure with the government, it can be done.
yes, ma'am.
We
No,
have
I
been.
just got that, Ahmedabad, Gujarat and all, a lot of thalassemia
No,
cases.
no, but not a single state has got a rule. It can be done. All of them, like us, they are doing it, And in Gujarat, there was a program, that population screening in Saurashtra, it was there, but it is gone into, you got to say the word which is called Pani Mein Chale Gaya, na? Because what happened, they have done the full population screening, but they have not counseled. The person who are a carrier, they got married to another carrier and given birth to thalassemia major. So once you do this testing, the counseling is the most important. You just can't do the testing and done. So there the counseling part plays a very big role. In Gujarat, the incidence has not come down. The thalassemia children are so much. So when you are doing this type of testings, a lot of things are required. Maybe the government is thinking about that. It is not an individual, like they have to do the counseling and everything has to be fall into place, awareness, and they think the awareness can be done and people will come forward. In India, it is not that much. How much we have done for HIV, how much we have done for polio. So government has to come for similar program, how they have controlled polio and have they have done for HIV.
Yes, very true.
Right.
Very true.
Yeah, Krishna, as you said, yes, some of the Southeast Asian countries are having screening program in the schools also. For example, if you take Malaysia, here in the schools, they do regular screening. Whoever is passing the primary school and they're going to the next level. So they are doing the screening.
Jahnavi, the percentage is very high in Malaysia. That is why the government has come forward for that rule. Because managing a child of thalassemia for 40 years or 50 years will cost you 1.5 crore for one child in Indian currency. So that is they are doing this screening program, and it has been led down with the counseling.
Yes, and here consanguinity is also very high, doctor. That's why they are strictly following this screening at the school level and in the maternity centers also.
So for that, you have to do a proper way. We have done a school children screening of 1,000 children, then we stopped.
Yes.
1,000 children, we did the school screening, but we didn't take the permission of the parents and all. And when we issued the report, with you are 44 children were thalassemia carrier, 4.4%. So the parents started phoning us, whoever allowed us to do, you have allowed us to do this test and we got back.
Yeah, few parents, they came to my doorsteps at night at 12, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock also. And they were so panic. Then we thought, pehle counseling hona, fir consent form lena, then we have to go for these testing.
The government can do these things, school children screening, but proper counseling is required. Parents counseling is required.
Yeah. Before that, I personally feel that government should come forward with some projects like there was an HIV projects they had a big hoardings everywhere regarding HIV and all. Then they had in centers HIV centers where they were the test being done. Then there is a system counseling system were done. The same thing should come there should be a like Telangana HIV centers जैसा है the same thing AP SACS का जैसा even the thalassemia department should be there so that there should be a regular program under that. But most of the government officials, what they say, it is only 3.5 to 4%. So 97%, 96% are normal people. We can't do anything. That is the results we got when we met few officials.
Right.
Yeah, in the chat box, Shobha is asking like, can a beta thalassemia trait person marry an alpha thalassemia trait person? So that's what Shobha here, both ma'ams are talking about counseling, because trait itself is a kind of carrier. It's a carrier. So again, marrying two carriers, we can't say like all HbA variants are protective. So it is better to avoid marrying marriage of carriers. That too knowingly. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. There is someone question that for Jahnavi ma'am, how do you approach personalized medicine in thalassemia management, considering factors such as genotype, disease severity, and patient preferences?
Patient preferences.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So personalized medicine, genetics itself is like dealing with personalized aspects only. Because for example, if for example to the clinic, there are 10 to 20 thalassemia patients come. So we are sending them for the genetic testing. Before genetic testing to the clinician, so the clinician might be looking at their iron levels or HPLC levels, all these things, and they uh, prefer for the transfusions or medicines. So once genetic testing is done, we get to know what are the different variants present in these patients. So as I already told you, like not all variants behave in the same way. That is because of the location of this particular variant in the important domain of the gene. So there are some mutations which are very pathogenic. So those patients who are having these pathogenic mutations, comparing their genetic results with the HPLC diagrams, so clinician will definitely treat them separately in a different way. The treatment management will be different. But there are some variants which are mild and they may be having co-inheritance of HbA variants. So these people will have definitely different kind of approach in the treatment management. So genetic testing will definitely helps to manage the disease personal level, at the personal level. So patient preferences means in terms of marriage, yes. So this definitely will help. If the patient, both mother is already having transfusions, father is not tested or having transfusions. Generally, people from the tribal areas, they are generally approaching the government clinics and NGOs like TSCS and all. So when it comes to preferences, yes, people are counseling them, sending them to genetic test. For example, they are carriers, they are advising for the amniocentesis and then screening the fetus. And then genetic counseling plays again a major role on the taking the informed decisions. For example, the fetus is inheriting both, is having this pathogenic variation, then obviously clinician and the genetic counselor will help them to take decisions at their personal level. So obviously it's a kind of personalized management.
Janvi, you have talked very correctly. Maybe they are thinking of the treatment part. Treatment doesn't get changed, Patient will be having blood transfusion and iron chelating drugs. But what
Yes, doctor.
I'm finding in our observation, some children after 15 transfusion, the serum ferritin is very high. And in some children, after 15 transfusion, the serum ferritin is not very high. So there must be some modifiers and all, and
Modifier.
we are working towards that, and that is the research whether that modifier and that pill is been manufactured and given to the children so that their iron level will not increase. So that will be again a very costly affair. So genetic is definitely play a big role in the management, and what you talked about, that is very correct. The mutations.
Thank
and
you.
all.
Thank you.
Got it, ma'am. Ma'am, I think the question for Dr. Jain in the chat box. How do cultural beliefs and societal attitudes towards genetic testing and family planning impact thalassemia prevention efforts in different regions of the world? Dr. Jain.
It's very difficult question. And the cultural thing in India, the genetic thing test, in spite of testing, in spite of going for DNA testing and all, and finding this affected, they don't go for termination because they that awareness part is lacking. So awareness is very much required even in the so-called genetic disorder who are registered with us. The thalassemia children are registered with us. But when we are going for antenatal screening and all, there the again is a big but still we are fighting. We have the counselor, we counseled and take them on our own expenses to the NIMS, get their prenatal diagnosis done, but still they don't go for, many of them don't go for, I will say 5% of persons still don't go for termination. It's still there. They don't go for genetic testing so easily. But in educated thing, recently I found it is not a thalassemia case. It's a liposomal disorder was there. You know, that is also an autosomal recessive disorder. So that person, first child was affected with this disorder, lysosomal disorder. That is, I'm forgetting the name. And second child also, the doctor said, yes, you have to go for prenatal diagnosis before having a child. Then they went for the second pregnancy, and there also the second child was also affected. And they went for third pregnancy. Luckily, this time the child was not affected. They continued with pregnancy. So definitely it gave a good result if people know why we are doing it. You know, the counseling plays a very big role.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you. And we have one more question for Ratnavali, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, what are some common misconceptions or myths that about thalassemia that you encounter, and how do you address them usually?
It was like earlier they used to get confused with thalassemia and AIDS majorly. Nowadays they have a clear idea about thalassemia and AIDS. It is not, they're not combining both the things, but still they always say ki in our family no one is ill, no one has this anemia. Why my child got thalassemia? Why they want blood transfusions? So they wanted to, and in their families, they say ki, "Nee, 1 or 2 after 1 or 2 months, the child will be normal." The elders says most of them, and they delay a few transfusions and all. The same thing will happen if a first child is thalassemia major. The elders in the family they say ki, agar one child is thalassemia major, it is not necessary you give birth to all thalassemia majors only. So you'll be blessed with a normal child, and they don't go for testing. And after testing also, because of their cultural myths and all, they don't want to get abortion. Uh, the God has given this baby, and uh, they'll be taken care by God only. So these are the main things we come across with such type of things.
Got it, ma'am. I think it's very tough to combat these kind of misconceptions and myths in India, so-called a religious
Yeah.
country, where they believe
Yeah.
in different communities. And yes, ma'am, thank you so much for the shedding light. So I think any more questions? We'll wait for a couple of seconds. If any questions, then we'll. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It would be a fantastic session. And, by having you three like pioneers in the field, really, really an incredible thing. And you are doing a phenomenal jobs in respect to fields. And TSCS was like, it's an incredible thing where millions will get benefited from it. And this is a day where much people will get aware from this. And we people take initiation to do much more awareness events, and the things what you are doing, getting inspirational from you. And thank you so much, ma'am. Our MD, Dr. Prasad, has asked you to greet everybody here, and it's been a very
Thank you.
fantastic evening that you have been here. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much for joining and making us aware. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you all.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna Garu.
We invite
Thank you.
you to visit our center. Janvi and Krishna, please visit.
And,
You are
and
from
all the
Hyderabad only, no, Janvi?
Sorry,
You are
doctor.
from Hyderabad? Janvi?
Right now, I'm not in Hyderabad, doctor, but I will definitely visit you both, ma'am. Definitely, I will visit
yeah,
you.
sure.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you can explore the genetic tests. There are a lot of tests are available.
Hmm.
You can explore, doctor.
Yeah, please visit because we have the research center. We do the mutation thing in our society itself. So
Okay.
you please visit and advise us what more we can do. Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely. Pleasure, ma'am. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.